Joined down the line from London by GBNews Senior Political Commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, your reaction to the police, three mayors in Brussels attempting to close down this meeting, and, if I may, the response of a couple of Labour frontbenchers?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do, Nigel, is to go to the European Court of Human Rights and complain about the mayors for trying to close down your free speech. As far as back in London goes, I think Rishi Sunak was right. No, it's appalling to do something like this. This was a matter of free speech. As far as I can understand from a few hundred miles away, there was no question of public disorder outside, so there was absolutely no reason to take the action they did. And the other weird thing they've done is they've given you the oxygen of publicity. It's quite likely your conference would not have got the kind of reporting it has had they not taken this action.
No, well, that's absolutely right, Nigel. I must say, when banks close my accounts or when the police move in during a speech I give, I generally find that I come out better than those that are trying to cancel me. But the attitude, I mean, come on, John Ashworth, Wes Streeting, I mean, this was real sort of hair shirt puritanism that only our view's acceptable, nobody else should really say these things. I mean, is Keir Starmer's Labour Party that politically correct and that intolerant?
Well, no, I mean, I think that the answer was they should have ignored it completely, that they didn't have to make any comments about it, and probably better if they hadn't. I mean, quite clearly, we're talking about a free speech issue here, and certainly that is what Keir Starmer's Labour Party is committed to, which is why this is not a row they needed to get into.
No, I think that's right. Better to have said nothing. Now, ECHR. Suella put ECHR right at the heart of her speech. She's urging Sunak to do something about it. Now, obviously, he won't. But can you see ECHR becoming a big election issue in terms of manifestos?
Well, it'll be an election issue because obviously immigration is going to be a fairly major election issue, but it won't be the top one. I mean, the polls are fairly consistent. What people most care about is the cost of living crisis. Then they care about the NHS and not being able to get hospital ops. And immigration comes below that. When it comes down to the ECHR, Rishi Sunak is absolutely right. We should not be taking Britain out of international law and our international obligations, which is what would happen with the ECHR. He also has that huge practical difficulty that if you do leave the ECHR, you would then undermine the Good Friday Agreement, and it's very difficult to see how that could be put back together if you went that route. What he's more likely to do is ignore any more Article 39s and just see what the European Court does.
That may be right. Talking of international law, Suella thinks that Keir Starmer might take us back into the European Union. I have to say, I view that as being unlikely.
Well, I would go further and say it's complete and utter nonsense. And she was saying that there were indications that the Labour Party were moving in that direction. They're not. I'd love to see the indications that Suella Braverman was talking about. Brexit is done. Those of us who are on the Remain side, we lost. There's nothing we can do about that. What we have to do is make the best of it, and that is the policy of the Labour Party.
Nigel Nelson, as ever, thank you for joining me.